Alright, we're going to wrap this up today. At least get the all the clay repair done. Yeah, that was smart wearing my green striped shirt today. Oh well, whatever. As you can see, it is practically the perfect green screen color. Alright, let's get this going. I already pre-baked a few things here, so I got these guys baked. Finished all 10 of them. Nice and hard. There's a little bit of wiggle on there, which is okay. I could even drop a little piece of glue in there if I want. But they do not turn and they do not fall off. So they are ready to go. I don't have to worry about them. What I'm going to do is plan out the spots. I'm going to compare to the other ones. So this Mary, I've already baked this piece. So what I did was I ended up pulling it off carefully, putting it on the tin foil that way, just this piece. And then while it was quite hot after the bake, I pulled it out and I needed to, glue it and push it on there while it was still warm. So I used a paper towel to kind of shield my fingers. It's not so hot, but it would burn me at first. And then, yeah, glued it on there. So now it's baked. So she should be good to go. I'll have to do a little bit of fill there. Some of it just shifts a little bit. You see these micro bubbles that were in the rolled into the clay did do a little bit of expanding, and I'll just sand those off pretty easily like that. If it's a little underbaked, you'll feel the difference. You'll see that it'll flake off, feel a little gummy almost, and especially when you go to sand it, you'll feel a difference in texture. But I prefer to underbake it, like I said, in case I ever need to bake again, or I just don't like to burn it because it does change properties slightly when it starts to blacken and burn. As you can see, it's sanding really well, though. I'll get that nice and smooth. I'll even round off the edge a little more. I'm just being really careful not to sand the paint part. That'll make a nice little soft bevel on the edge of the clay. There we go. And same with this. I want it to transition nicely into the top, so just taking some of that perfect edge off. See, there's a little bit of a ledge there. Not too bad. That feels pretty good. I've got the shape, a little bit of sanding, I'll have that done. Nice and smooth. I did do a little more work on Joseph's face. I just used the sandpaper first to get a couple of those tool marks out and smooth it out, and then I used this tool and just rubbed over it like this, almost like a burnishing, to get this powdery layer off. The rest of it I'm not so worried about. It's going to be covered in paint. but as long as the shape underneath is smooth, which is a lot nicer, you can see there's no weird little bumps anymore around the eyes, on the cheeks, and I think it's going to paint real nice. You might have to use the tool to get that even smoother. See, it's a little bit of a bump still, but that's okay. I'd rather have it a little high than too low. Nice and smooth. You can see that little bit of bumps from the roller. It's all gone now. Still debating whether it would have been better to take that off, but I'm living with the results of my choices now. No regrets, right? So at the expense of a little bit of paint at the edge, I'm going a little more vigorous just because I want to get that transition perfectly smooth. So I'm going to take a little bit of that paint. And I might just wash this off to get all this powder. I'm being careful to keep this away from my tea. But yeah, you probably don't want to have anything. If you're doing like that toxic paint, obviously this is not toxic, so I'm not terribly worried about the dust from this. I'm not breathing it in or anything, but I'm not too worried about it. Now you see how the powder's filling up that little crack. It can be good, it can be bad. It really depends if you're going to just paint right over top of it or not. It is weak though, because it will come out. If you ever try to put clay in there, the clay just sticks to the powder and falls out. If I'm going to just cover it in paint, probably won't matter too much. debating about it now, trying to think about what I should do. I'm going to finish sanding and then I'll see. I might do a test paint. Problem with the coverage, the good coverage paints, is it's going to be thick brush strokes, which you don't really see much thick brush strokes. They have really good coverage on this paint here, but obviously the darker color is done last. So the base color is this this brown that's very similar to my clay, but not quite the same. So I'm going to try to match that ochre. Looks like an ochre color. A nice light sienna. I'm not sure what color exactly, but it'll be a nice medium yellow brown. It may be mixed with some white, because it's quite white in tone. That is working really well. That feels super smooth to me. So I did just a 10-minute bake on this, but it's a pretty thin piece, so it baked pretty thoroughly. It's hard, not worried about it. It doesn't feel too gummy at all. If it was like sticky in some spots, then yeah, I would probably put it in again. But like I said, I was too worried about boiling that paint right off, even at a low oven temperature, so I didn't want to put her in the oven, even though I've done it in the past with things before painting them. But yeah, definitely not this one. This paint is just too nice. I didn't want to lose it. If some paint starts to peel off, then you gotta peel the whole thing, just a whole mess. Did not want to deal with that. As you can see, it's filling up the paper. Just going to keep moving around until it falls off. And trying not to press too hard. If I go too fast as well, it just starts to heat up a little bit, and that will cause it to stick a little more. Try to get this as smooth as possible. I'm not going to go down to polish levels. There's no reason. The paint's going to fill in the scratches. I don't need it like a mirror polished or anything. I want it to simulate the clay surface. So technically, this is close. Should be close enough. As you can see, those little bubbles just sand right out. Not worried about them at all. A little bit of a crack there, but again, it's going to be completely covered as long as it's smooth. That inside bit is going to take a little clay to smooth that out, which is okay. little smoother than the knife. I don't really want to use the knife here because it will scratch and a tendency to crack a little bit as you scrape it with a knife. It really depends on the angle and the pressure, but we're talking less than a millimeter here, so I'm just going to sand it down. The only time I really use the knife is when I need to carve a significant amount off. A little divot in there is bugging me, but really it's going to be impossible to see. Let's see if we can't finish this transition completely. Starting to get a little bit of that paint off. I gotta be careful. So I'm taking the top layer of that black, and I do have that pattern on one of the wise men, so I'm not too worried about it losing the pattern. Almost there. You can see a little of the paint's coming off in there, but it's all right. I want it to be smooth. Probably end up repainting the whole thing just so I don't have to worry about the transition of color there. This whole piece. All right, I think I got it. Just using the powder to kind of give an indication of when it's a bump still on the wrong side. I think it's working. I got it. So that's it for that. I think that's as close as it's ever going to get. And there we go. I'm going to wipe this powder off a little bit. I'll dust myself off later. I want to blow on it, but I do not want to get this particles all airborne. So I'm just going to use the paper towel. I think I'll wash her off a little bit later, but I just brush off the dust. And even the oil from your hands, sometimes now I'm covered in powder, but if you rub over it, I mean, it's got also whatever oil is in the clay. You can kind of burnish the surface with that, but I don't really need to at this point. That feels super smooth and clean. Transition's good. I'm quite happy with that. That was a tricky one, getting this suspended part joined. So now I'm going to still carve a little bit on the inside here. I don't want to sand too much with the sandpaper because I'll end up with a weird divot. Can maybe try a little bit. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for that paper. And then I'll have to do some tool work on the inside. All right, let's get these halo bits in because I got some dusty work here to do. Might as well get that all done. So these are all nice and solid. I'm going to sort them. I have some a little smaller than others. I want to keep the small ones for the baby. Or the slightly smaller ones. And then the rest doesn't really matter so much. Alrighty, so 5 and 5. I'm going to mark them ahead of time. I think I'll use a tool. Maybe, yeah, this pokey one's better. It's got a nice and sharp point. I can basically look at what they did on the other two that I have. It's pretty standard. Just about a ½ inch in there. So I'm just going to mark where they go. The clay is still soft enough that I can put a little poke in it. That'll also help the drill bit line up. Let me just make sure I get in the center here. So I'm just going to eyeball these because I think that's close enough, and I think that's what they do. Yeah, this clay is still a little gummy, which means it's slightly underbaked. He could probably use another 10 minutes before painting. Yeah, you see that when it chips like that. That's not good. But I'm going to be putting a big hole in there, so. All right, that's pretty good for him. Let's get the other one ready to go. Now these, I've seen a lot of different references. They really do, yeah, I mean, it's really the same. So I'm just going to do it sitting, and I just want to make sure I don't interfere with the rest of this here. So that should work. So I might do these a little closer, but again, I want to be careful not to chip a little bit, and it's gonna look a little weird with the drill bit. But I mean, I'm gonna also stab these in, so it's a little better than just shoving it into the soft clay. That would be a little weird. All right, let's go slightly back. That should do it. Let's make sure I don't interfere. Yep. Kind of making it semicircle on purpose. Just don't want it going in a straight line or towards the front at all. Could probably go in front of that a little bit. All right, so as I said before, if you do sharpen these enough and this clay is soft enough, you could just turn it until you get it in. You can see it just, it will bore in eventually. It's just super tedious and time consuming, so yeah, I'm doing it by hand like this is just as loose as the drill bit, and really harder, takes longer. So got a Dremel tool ready to go, or a non-brand named rotary tool, and that's the smallest drill bit that comes with a set of those. It's a little bit bigger than my wire. Again, it's not any bigger than that wire, so the hole might be a little big, but it's okay. It's better to have a little bit bigger hole than it too tight, and I push it in hard and it cracks. So the angle is very important, and of course the depth is also very important. So there's a couple ways to do this. I could just use the tool and adjust it down, but the simplest way is just to add a piece of tape, which I don't think I have ready access to right now. So I may have to use the adjustment. So again, I'm going to look at the length of these. So I've got about that much difference. The other way to do it would be like this. I'm going to look at my length of my bit. So just sliding it in. Can use the depth. All right, let's see again. That's pretty close. So yeah, I'm just holding it there. So if I go to that depth, it should be just right amount for each one of those. So they will be similar. Leave a little room for glue. I'm going to do this on the lowest setting. Might be a little too fast, but you see it slows down. As long as the bit isn't jiggling too much, it should be good. Quite fast. Test it out first. looks about right. So there's not too much room. I'll just fill it in with some glue. So I don't have to make these exactly straight because I do have bendy wire. But why not make it close? Ooh, coming back out again is what's dangerous. Do that nice and slow. Whoopsie. I forgot to tighten that down. I'm going to pencil hold this one. Ooh, well, that made me nervous. I think it'll work. And if its length is a little different, I can try a different one or do a little bit of a twist. Remember, the ends are sharp from just breaking them with the wire cutter. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Just gonna put a drip of glue down each one, make sure that it's held in place. I might do a little filler with the clay, but that's it. Never look down the barrel of glue and squeeze. I was looking and pulling back, but even then, be careful. I almost shot myself in the eye a couple of times, but luckily, never. But yeah, the fumes are bad enough. You don't want crazy glue in your eye. So I might do a little of that to guide it down the hole. I don't mind if it's a little thick in there while it's drying. I want it to be very secure. All right, we'll let that dry. Remember, any little bits I can bend after this dries nice and secure, but it's pretty close. Exactly how I wanted it. I might bring them in a little bit, but that's about it. Yeah, let's test these before I start gluing, huh? All right, I think I got it. All right, I think that was it. We're just about ready to get painting, so I'm gonna wrap this one up in a bit. I don't think I'm gonna get to painting today. I might have some other things to do. Well, let's see. I'll get this a chance to dry. Kind of like that loose fan shape there. It's pretty darn close. Not perfect spheres, which is okay. It's kind of what I wanted. All right, I'm gonna leave that. I think that's about right. Looking real nice. And fits right in with the rest. Exactly the right size. I'm gonna stop messing with this. A little bit too much. Kind of works. I think that'll do. Let that paint really, or that glue really dry. Come back to that. But I think we're pretty good here. All right, the last bit is the inside here. So I'm going to just finish this up so I can be done. Some of that clay is still soft. Again, just as a thin layer, it's going to be completely covered by paint. I really don't think anybody's going to see it. All right, she's good. I'm going to clean them off, get them ready. Just going to use some water, spray bottle, and wipe it down. Should be ready to go. Actually, I think I have that right here. I mean, I'm using distilled water because I had it in here from plating, but honestly, whatever water. You see, washing the dust off gets most of the white powder out of there, but it doesn't take it all the scratches. There's still some scratches in there, but again, they're going to be painted and it'll all fill in nice. But there she is, ready to go. Just going to get all this powder carefully off. I think I'm going to have to get a brush in there. I don't like that little gap. That's just a side effect of as it cooled and as I tried to glue it in. Could put a little piece of glue in there and carve it down, or just get a little clay. So I did make a little pot. I kind of liked her hands being in a praying position. Some of them have things, some of them don't. It looks like the original had something held in the middle there, so I kind of made the hands ambiguous on purpose, so I could put a little pot there or something. So I made a little pot, but it's actually I left it in the oven. Better take that out. I turned off the oven and left it in down here. Just a really simple shape, and I put a little divot in one side so that it can sit against the body like that. And as you can see, it looks just as much held as some of these guys, so I think it works. Maybe I'll leave it optional for now. Still not sure if I want to glue it in there. Probably not. Put a tiny bit of clay into the parts that I carved there to make her nose a little more symmetrical. There was an extra bump there that didn't need to be there. So I don't want to have clay flaking off, but I'm gonna have to do some touch-ups anyway. There's a bunch of chips in her paint, so debating whether I'm gonna do the eyes. I don't want to lose this traditional look, but I wouldn't mind a little more detail around the eyes, but I think I'm gonna leave them. I'm gonna leave this to let's make it authentic as possible. Okay. So we're almost ready for painting. I'll save that for another session. Yeah, those are chips. Of course, if you want to store these properly, you got to wrap them in some tissue. Put them in a box. You don't want to just drop these kind of things in a box, obviously. Although that seems to be what happened to these guys. Feels really good. Yeah, I'll just use some clay to fill in that. We can do that now. What are we at? 48 minutes, so not too bad. Try to wrap this up at an hour. Yeah, I think that worked. Still got some posability to these, so if they do get a little bent, or if you want to make it a little more even, got some room. That came out pretty good. It's not 100% accurate, but it's by eye. I chose a side of the hole to glue it to, so maybe I could have done that lower, but it's going more for the even distribution at the top, which feels balanced to me. And I kind of did this fan on purpose. I mean, the other ones are pretty much straight across, so split the difference. This one was really badly bent up at first. Actually, yeah, you can see it there. It's almost the same. I can just bend them to be the same. Why not? I think that's a little more interesting. This one is much stiffer, thicker gauge. Actually, yeah, looking at the holes, could quite easily be that shape that I did. Yeah, that looks better. Almost like a crown, which I don't think is wrong. Yeah, nice and solid. Everything's ready to go. Yeah, I'm not gonna mess with that anymore. I think we're good. Glue's pretty much dry, so just do the last little bit of fill in there. I mean, there's little gaps around that too, so probably the same method. clean up the edge just the littlest bit. Glue is still a little wet. Not a bad thing to mix a little fresh clay in there. But I don't want to cover my tool in it either. Alright. We're good. That is Joseph done. Ready for print. This will be the end of it, yeah. So this is the last of the repair parts. Quite happy with how it turned out. And we'll try to do a few of these on the paint. I don't know if I'm going to do all the painting on live stream, but we'll see. It seems to be helping me motivate myself to get this done. Hopefully people get something out of seeing the real-time process. Yeah, that worked out. That'll paint real nice. Pretty smooth. All right, folks. Thanks for sticking it out. See you in this whole series here. It's going to be a lot of work to do with the paint, but I'm not too worried about it. I think it'll be fun. Most of it's pretty technical, except for maybe the front of Joseph's robe. So I'm just doing that a little bit fill. Yeah, that'll do it. So again, I'm going to hide that transition just by filling in a little bit of the crack, and then on the inside, it'll be done. Much smoother. All right, I'm going to put a drop of glue on that and be done. And then I'll do a little bit of fine sanding to finish it off. Just don't want that powder to come out, so I'm just going to glue it in there. Super thin layer. So I'm just using the tool to spread it out. I don't want it to crystallize and turn white, so I'm probably going to sand it down anyway. Mostly just for getting it to seep in that crack and make it hard. Yeah, all right, that's good. Gonna let that dry, leave them alone for a bit, and we'll come back to this maybe later today. Seems to be a few people watching, and eventually I'm sure some people will take a look at this later, get something out of it. Keeping these tools clean. Can definitely polish these down later with some super fine. Nice to keep them real smooth, no scratches. Okay, well, that's it for today, or for now, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Happy sculpting? I don't know. I don't really have a catchphrase here. Like and subscribe if you like, but I'm really not a person who's going to be telling people to smash any buttons, so good luck.